Let us continue our discussion on consent management, talking today about user grievances. What happens if a user is not satisfied the way his consent has been taken care of? Where does he go and what should he expect out of the fiduciaries and consent managers? Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And as I said, let's talk about the consent management and user grievances within consent management. So, what are the common kind of complaints a user can have? Simple. You put in a consent, but you are not able to see it. It's not visible. You might feel that it has not been registered since it is not reflected on the system. And of course, you are worried that if it is not reflected, would it be applicable? How? Consent is not revocable. Consent manager does not have proper options to revoke. Or again, the same thing. You revoke the consent, but it is still getting reflected there or still visible as a consent. Right, so that's another, and that's actually a very important fundamental user right in terms of privacy, because the revoking is a critical function of user rights. Delay in consent updates across services, right? This is critical. We have been talking about this one organization, they're delivering multiple services, and we are going to talk of multi-tenant consent also in a couple of days. So if there is improper update or delayed update, then you get into trouble, right? So that's another important aspect as a user complaint. Unauthorized data sharing. So I am given consent on data sharing. How did it get shared? That violates the basic privacy itself. And a very difficult support system. Difficult to reach them. Difficult to get your queries answered by them. What are the responsibilities of consent managers? They too offer a redressal system. Now we are not talking of all the responsibilities, but more towards the area focused on what happens if the user is not satisfied. So the consent manager should offer a redressal mechanism so that users can talk to them. A redressal mechanism screen should accept complaints, acknowledge them within 24 hours, and should be able to resolve ideally within 7 days. And it should not be delayed beyond that. I mean, 7 days is a good time. Until of course it's a strange or not so common problem that has come up, and you need some interdependencies on various departments, then it might take longer, but 7 days should be a good SLA. And consent manager should have a complete log of the complaints they have received. They should have complete information on how did they resolve it. You can create FAQs out of your resolution so that the volume of complaints coming in can get reduced. So maintain a feedback mechanism, a resolution mechanism. What about users facing redressal interface? What interface it should be? There should be an option to submit a grievance, and therefore a ticket should get logged. Simple. There should be an option to explain your issue in details with screenshots and logs and whatever you want to feed in. Like a typical service center CRM where you can just get in and start punching your detail, your complaint, your concern, and attach any evidence to your concern. Then you get the status updates either through SMSs, emails, and for sure on the app one should be always able to see that they have logged a ticket. Now the ticket has been assigned. Now the ticket status has changed. They receive the acknowledgement of ticket. They receive the responses that the support executive has put in on tickets. And there should be an escalation matrix, well defined. If it is not getting resolved or answered properly at this level, where do you go? And what are the options? How to reach that place? Right? This is the most important part of any grievance, that it should be convenient for the user to get in and log in a complaint. Then what if the consent manager itself is not able to resolve the problem? There could be such situations. So the user can be redirected back to fiduciary with all the complete details. This is the complaint that came in. This is how we work. This is the communication we had. And finally, at this stage, we realize that we cannot support or we have not been able to provide proper service, and therefore we have come back to the fiduciary for their feedback or they're taking it further. So it should have complete details so that the fiduciary can take a quick decision. And one has to be very much cautious of the fact that complaints, especially if not answered properly, can trigger penalties, can trigger delisting, and can initiate consent manager's audit and a revalidation of the practices that the consent manager follows so that they can be set right for future working. I can't say future grievances, but yes, like I said, you can create FAQs, can reduce grievances. You learn from the grievances, you improvise on your systems, whether someone logs in a ticket and you resolve faster, or whether you give them an FAQ that helps them solve and reduce the volume of tickets. So that's about user grievances with respect to consent management. I hope you like the content of the video. Please press the bell and the subscribe icon, like icon, and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.